Hi there ladies and good afternoon. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah, and I'm coming live to you on Tuesday, June. I just had a mental blank on the date. Tuesday, June 17, 2025 with this week's scrapbooking challenge. As many of you know, I am playing a little bit of catch up this week. So this is my first Technique Tuesday class for June. I unfortunately have been crook with COVID and then got a chest infection post-COVID as well. So I have got my water bottle on hand. Little coughing episodes. I like to think that if I was doing this class with you in person, just like I would be doing it in live, these things happen when we are in the moment. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the challenge, week 1 and week 2's challenge for June. I'm also going to be sharing with you the scrapbooking layouts from the Totally Sweet Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. So I'm going to start with week 2's layout. This is a double page scrapbooking layout. We are creating pattern number 18 on page 40 from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 1 book. And this is the very last pattern that we have for this book. So stay tuned, girls, because I'm going to be doing something a little bit different next week. Now, this is a single page layout, which I've converted into a double page. And I've actually turned my layout, as you can see here, we've got the layout like so in the book, but I've actually turned my layout, the orientation around to be able to incorporate my photos, which were all portrait style photos. So I want to give you some tips for that particular layout today. You've got a little bit of free range here. So you are going to need firstly 2 sheets of 12 by 12 inch paper. You might wish to use coordinating cardstock, or in my case, I've used some designer series paper in 12 by 12 inch. You are also going to cut 1 large sheet of either cardstock or pattern paper. Now the instructions for this are 10 by 5.5 inches. I have cut mine at 11.5 inches by 5.5 inches. Okay. So the reason for that being is that all of my photos were portrait. So I needed to turn it around on the side, and in order to fit these 3 photos across here like so, I have done this on a 11.5 inch by 5.5 inch piece of white willow cardstock. Now, what this has meant is when I've cropped my portrait photos, I've cut them down to 5 inches, and then the width of each photo is 3.5 inches. So I've taken 1/4 of an inch off each side of the 4 inch of my photos. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If you need clarification, pop a comment below and I can type up the instructions in the comment section. So that's how I've been able to get these 6 photos running across the page from left to right. And then instead of having my 1/2 inch strip of paper running through the middle of where you can see this photo and these 2 smaller photos are, I've actually used some leftover papers from my Totally Sweet Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, and I've put 1/2 inch strips at the top and then 1/2 inch strips at the bottom as well. So the colour palette that I'm using today is Pool Party, Shaded Spruce, and also Garden Green. Okay, and these colours are coming from the Totally Cute Sweet collection. So as you know, every month I teach a scrapbooking workshop kit, which you will see for this month in June on pages 16 and 17. I'm going to share these 3 layouts with you today. This is the Totally Sweet Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, and this scrapbooking workshop kit coordinates with the Totally Cute Sweet collection. So you've got step-by-step scrapbooking here for the person that wants a guide with instructions. Makes it very easy for you to follow. And then we have the Sweet collection in this section of the catalogue. This is for our crafters that like to purchase items either as an entirety or you can buy them individually and you can create from scratch with, okay? This suite collection also coordinates with a new section in the annual catalogue, which is called Scrapbooking from Scratch. And you can see here that you can also purchase stamp sets, cardstock and pattern paper that coordinate with the suite collection, and in this instance also the scrapbooking workshop kit. So we've really got some crafting opportunities here to suit everyone based on what type of crafter you are, okay? And you will see me create from different styles as I go throughout each month. I will always teach the scrapbooking workshop kit a month, and then I tie in additional products and scrapbook from scratch using how-to patterns like I'm sharing here with you today. So that's just a little bit of a guide and a walkthrough there with the new catalogue. And what I've done here is I've taken the colours from the suite range, and you can see that I've worked today with Pool Party, Shaded Spruce and Garden Green. And can anyone guess the nail colour for this week? It is Poppy Parade. So these papers were perfect for my photos of Kayla and I at Berry Springs. We had a wonderful day driving to Litchfield National Park in Darwin. This was almost 4 years ago. For Kayla's 20th birthday, we took a road trip and we went swimming in the beautiful natural springs here. Now, the technique that I'm sharing with you today is the ink splattering, and I have also incorporated some journaling strips here as per the how-to pattern. There were some tips here to create word strips, and they make a great touch when you want your journaling to carry more visual interest, and they're fun to read. So because I have made this journal cluster here flush on the outside of my scrapbooking layout, I've actually cut my white willow cardstock at 3/8, and the really fun thing with this, with the strips, is you can journal onto the cardstock and then cut it at different lengths, so you end up with this staggered effect, and it actually creates like a journaling feature. Now, because this strip was quite thick, I've ended up journaling with my Stampin' Write marker in basic black instead of the new journaling pens that Stampin' Up launched at the beginning of May, because the tip on this pen, these pens are quite thin. So because I have gone for a thicker journaling strip here, I've incorporated my Stampin' Write marker. So you can decide which style of journaling pen is best suited for your needs based on what you're doing with your layout. Now, in terms of the ink splattering, what I've done here, I've used some Pool Party Designer Series paper. And in fact, I've taken this from a coordinating paper pack. So for those of you that have scrapbooked with me for a little while, you'll know that I transitioned from close to my heart, and we used to work with a product called the Mix-In paper pack. So I could work with a suite and I could mix in an additional paper pack using colours that coordinated with the suite. So I want you to think about that in that same sense as well. So coming back to the colours I'm using today, Pool Party, Shaded Spruce and Garden Green, what I did was I went to my current packets of Designer Series paper to see what other papers I had in these colours that I could incorporate and mix in to use up the papers left over from my Turtley Sweet Scrapbooking Workshop kit. So to help you to do that, there's a really cool function on my website. There's a search function, and I could type in the word Pool Party, and every Designer Series paper that has Pool Party in it will come up. You could type in Shaded Spruce, and same again. Every Designer Series paper that has Shaded Spruce in it will come up. And so when I did this, one of the paper suites that came up in my search was Floral Impressions, which is a online exclusive that we currently have available, and both Pool Party and I think it was also, was it garden green or shaded spruce? Oh, it was crushed curry came up as well. So whilst this was, I'll show you the back of this paper, whilst this was a very floral background from Floral Impressions, on the opposite side, you've got just a background paper, and that's in Pool Party. So I love that the designer series paper has a background and textured effect where you can see this is a very basic background. It's generic. You could use that for so many different things. And then on the opposite side, you've got this textured sort of designer series paper, really. Okay. So I do love that. And it's a great way to use that search function on my website to find other papers that you may already have in your stash at home with colours that coordinate. And then it's a great way to use up your leftovers from your scrapbooking workshop kit as well. So as you can see here, I don't have a lot of paper left over in my scrapbooking workshop kit from the 3 layouts I did. I've used all of my stickers. I've got little bits of pattern paper left up, some cardstock, and then the shaded spruce was actually a sheet I took out of the 2-tone cardstock pack that I had in stock. So a really great way to use up your leftovers by pairing your leftovers with some other designer series paper. So that's my little tip there for you on that today. Now, in terms of your ink splattering technique that I've used here on the layout, because my paper had this really beautiful textured pattern on it, I didn't want to go too crazy with the embellishments and the decorative, but I wanted to add a little something, and I thought this would be a fun technique to share with you today. It's quite a simple layout. I've used the shaded spruce cardstock here and my mini alphabet dies to create my title. And then I've used my adhesive sheets with the mini dies. So I've backed the adhesive sheet onto my cardstock first and then run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So when this punches out, the adhesive is already onto the back of my letters, and it makes it really easy for me to peel that adhesive backing off and then align my title really easily onto the layout. I have actually showed a Technique Tuesday video on that today, and you will be able to go back and find that on my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking with Sarah Shipton. Now, the colours I've used to do the ink splattering technique, as I mentioned, we've got Granny Apple Green, we've got Pool Party, which are a couple of the colours. And as I'm still investing in some of my Stampin' Up colours, the comparison for shaded spruce was either jade or pine, and the comparison for Poppy Parade is candy apple and crushed curry for Sundance. So I've actually used those inks on last week's challenge, which I'm going to share with you today as well also. I've got a few people watching. As a shout out to Kayla and Emily and Mel. Thanks so much for joining today, ladies. So what I did here with the ink splattering technique was I went for the Pool Party on the Pool Party, and it didn't work out as great as I thought it was going to, admittedly. So what I have done, it just was a little bit too light. So I have gone with the pine and the jade inks to do the ink splattering technique. Now, I'm just going to pop these papers to the side and get some scratch paper out here just to show you this as a fun technique. Now, I'm going to show you with both of the ink pads, because I know some of you, my customers, audience and scrapbooking community, have got either or. So with the Stampin' ink pads, classic Stampin' pads, someone mentioned to me last week they find these a little tricky to open. So a really great tip with this is to pop your 2 thumbs on the back and just push that down like so, and it just pops the lid up. And then you can open the lid up and you can slide that back into the recessed part. For the ink splattering, what you want to do before you open that up is just press that down really firmly. Press the ink pad down into the recessed part, and then when we open that up, hopefully I'm going to have some ink. Oh no, I didn't do a very good job with that. I might have to press a little bit harder. It worked earlier today when I tried it. It's always the way, girls, right? It's always the way. when you do live, things don't work the way that you want them to work, right? So let's hope I have better luck this time. Oh my gosh, I'm not having any luck at that at all. Well, you know what? Let's put this aside and I'll do it with the jade. Okay, so I'm just pressing my ink pad down into this recessed portion here. You can see I've got some here in the lid. I promise you this worked today, girls. I promise you it worked today. So I've got a little water brush here. Now, Stampin' Up! Do not sell a water brush. They have some Stampin' Spritzers, but then you need to buy the ink refills and pour them into the spritzer, which I didn't have. Or you can purchase the Wink of Stella glitter brush, okay? And then what I've done today with the water brush is I have just brushed that here into my recessed part of the lid. And then I have splattered that onto my scrapbooking paper, okay? So I did play around with that quite a bit to get the colour combination that I wanted. And you could even just, I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit of water here, just very carefully on the corner edge there. You could actually just pick up some ink that way. And then you could do some other techniques just like that, okay? So the idea with this is it is to be fun and creative. It's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be a little organic and rustic. And then you can just get a tissue and you can wipe out the leftover water ink inside your recessed lid there. So I'm just going to pop that to the side. And then you want to set your pages aside to dry off before you add your photos and your journaling, okay? So it is just a little fun technique, something a little different. I was looking for something quick and easy today because I am playing catch up and I've got lots to get done this week. So you can see that it just adds a little bit of color technique and it was fun as well there with the water. So I hope you've enjoyed that technique for this week. And now I'm going to share with you last week's layout, which I did not get to do a Technique Tuesday class for. I might take this out of the memory protectors here. So this particular layout for last week was made from pattern number 17 on pages 38 of the Make It From Your Heart How-To Pattern Book, Volume 1. And again, I took a single page layout and I converted it into a double page layout. So you're going to need, this example here, I have used white willow cardstock. And then again, because the orientation of my photos didn't match, I just turned my layout on the side like so. So I was able to get my title through the top here. And then also I created a photo mat here. So you're going to cut your cardstock at 7.5 by 5.5. And then I was able to put 2 portrait photos in each of the mats here. And I just doubled that up on either side. So I have posted these photos and this layout in our scrapbooking group from last week. These photos were of a summer's day in our pool. I've used some leftover designer series paper from my Turtley Sweet scrapbooking workshop kit. This spotty dotty paper is also left over from the Turtley Sweet scrapbooking workshop kit. I have used the coordinating cardstock colours in Pool Party and in Poppy Parade. And I've also embellished the layout using these super cute little shades of green hexagons. These are self-adhesive, so you can just lift them off the carrier sheet and you can pop them on to embellish. And because I used all of my stickers in the scrapbooking workshop kit, I needed to find something alternative to embellish with. So this particular stamp set and die cut set is an old set that I had lying around from my time with Close to My Heart. So I've used this to make some journaling, some embellishment clusters here and here. And here I had some leftover stickers as well that I was able to use up. And you can see that this is where I've brought in the complementary colours, Candy Apple and Sundance, which are the comparison colours for Poppy Parade and Crush Curry. I've made a cute little journaling box here as well, and I've just stamped at the top and the bottom of the journaling box, and then I've ruled my lines at 1/4 of an inch, and you can see the difference here. Actually, this is a great example of the width of the pens in comparison to each other. So this one here on the left is the basic black Stampin' Right marker, and this one here on the right is using the new Stampin' Up! Journaling pens, which are a 0.4 thickness, and this is a 0.5 thickness. I think it's handy to have one of each on hand, and you can see here, because my journal box was quite small, there wasn't much room for my handwriting to be big. And people quite often say, oh my gosh, I love your handwriting. This is my scrapbooking handwriting. If you saw my grocery shopping list handwriting, it would look very different. And what I would say to you is that it is so important to journal the stories with your photos. I still feel like a 6-year-old girl when I read my handwritten letters from my grandparents from when I was little. And I know that one day someone's going to feel that same way about me and my handwriting in my scrapbooking albums as well. Okay? So don't worry about your handwriting. I promise you, you care about it more than what the person that's reading it does. No one looks through my album and thinks, I don't like Sarah's handwriting. So try not to get too hung up on that. So that was last week's layout from the challenges. And now I want to share with you the layouts from the Scrapbooking Workshop kit. So the Turtley Sweet Scrapbooking Workshop kit, I've got these in memory protectors. It's not too glary, which is nice, because the weather here is miserable. I did make some changes to the Scrapbooking Workshop kit. Instead of this being one photo on the left-hand side, I've cut some extra cardstock there to fit for 2 4x6 photos, and then I've just spread my embellishments out, okay? I've done the same here as well. I've moved the embellishments to the outside of the pages, and then I've been able to get extra photos onto this area here, okay? So what I would say to you is that if you are looking at a Scrapbooking Workshop kit, you can see this has got 1, 2, 3 photos. Don't write a Scrapbooking Workshop kit off just because the marketing images show that. What I do is always cut the papers the exact same way that they're designed to be cut as per the instructional guide. And then when it comes time to sit down and put my layout together, if I've got extra photos, I just use the leftover cardstock or additional cardstock, and I will cut extra photo mats to fit on the layout. As you can see here, I've cut another 4x6 mat. 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 mat for a 4x6 photo. And here I've put the 2 photos here, but then I've cut another photo at 4x4, and I've just moved everything out to be able to incorporate that extra photo. So if you see a Scrapbooking Workshop kit and think, oh my gosh, it's only got 3 photos in the layout, you can always add extra and you can make it your own. So here I've added a 3x4 flip flap just to get these extra photos on. This was a really fun, wholesome experience in Bali. With Kayla and Jai, we did a baby sea turtle release, and it was just the cutest thing I've ever done in my whole life. Look at this little, gorgeous little turtle. You've got your journal box here as well. Now, I will note that I have added on these extra shades of green hexagons. These do not come in the Scrapbooking Workshop kit. I have purchased these additionally because I love to add bling onto my Scrapbooking Workshop layouts. So don't hesitate to double check your kit before you purchase it. And then you want to come to the Sweets section of your catalogue and also the Scrapbooking from Scratch section, and just double check that there might not be some ribbons or some gems or an embellishing folder that you might want to purchase separately, and that will just help to elevate your scrapbooking layouts a little bit extra. I've used the gems. I have bought the embossing folder and also the ribbon, but I haven't used them yet. So that's just a little tip there for you to help you to elevate your layouts. Now, I have added in a Pocket Plus memory protector. This is leftover from my time with Close to My Heart. This is not an item that Stampin' Up! Carries, but as you can see here, this fits inside my album the same way my memory protector does in either a D-ring or a postbun album. It will sit in the middle, and you can turn this the same way that you would do a page in your album, and this just helps me to get extra photos on that layout. So that is layout number 1 from the Scrapbooking Workshop kit. This is layout number 2 from the Scrapbooking Workshop kit, and this is a happy birthday layout. So again, I just want to share with you, you've got 4 portrait photos here on your scrapbooking layout, which I have followed because that was all the photos I had. I just switched around the embellishments a little bit. I've got my big happy birthday sticker here, and I popped my journal box here. And then I've got the Let's Party and the little turtle on the opposite side. And as you can see, these photos were perfect for Kayla's 20th birthday in Darwin. The colours all just worked beautifully. These were a combination of photos that I took during our girls' trip to Darwin. And you can see we've got the blues and the yellows here in the pool and the balloons. The more warmer colours here in this photo. The guacamole, the margaritas. We've got the yellows and the greens here. And then also the Eggs Benedict and her hollandaise sauce, which is one of her favourite meals, her breakfast brunch. So these colours just worked perfectly. It's bright, it's fun, it's vibrant. I absolutely love it, and I've incorporated a 4x6 inch flip flap on the top here. One of my tips is if you have got landscape photos and it doesn't fit the back of your portrait photo, you can just trim your photos down to 3x4 inch photos. I stick them onto the back of each other, and then I can slide this into my flip flap, and I've got a beautiful fun layout and some special memories scrapbooked there. And then last but by no means least, this is the 3rd layout from the Scrapbooking Workshop kit, and it's called Just Beachy. I have definitely added some extra photos here. You can see here on the layout, these bits of paper here are not designed for photos, but I have actually put photos over the top of those. And then instead of having just one portrait photo here on the layout, you can see here that I've added some extra photo mats in here just by moving these embellishments out to the edges of the page. I've been able to incorporate some extra photo mats here. So the optional technique was using flip flaps on this layout. The flip flaps do not come with your Scrapbooking Workshop kit, so you will need to purchase these separately. They come in a 10 pack, and this is designed for some 4x6 inch photos. And of course, as you can see, these photos were absolutely perfect for my Turtley Sweet layout. We had some fun day out on the water with Captain Nemo, who is in on Nusa Lembongan in Indonesia, and we had a private day out on the water with him in his boat. We did some snorkeling, we swam with the fish and the manta rays, and then we went down into the deep sea to swim with the turtles. So of course, as soon as I saw this Turtley Sweet paper pack, I knew that it was going to be just perfect for my photos. So these were taken in 2022, and I'm only scrapbooking them now. So my tip to you, quite often what I will do is I will wait for some kits or papers to come out that coordinate with my photos, and then I print them to scrapbook them. Unless it's a particular project that I'm working on, and then I just print and make do. But 9 times out of 10, I will coordinate my photos and print them as I need based on the different Scrapbooking Workshop kits and designer series paper that come out. But by all means, I encourage you to find a system and a process that works best for you, As you can see, I don't scrapbook in chronological order, but they will go into our album in chronological order. So this is the beautiful Turtley Sweet Scrapbooking Workshop kit for June. I hope that these layouts have inspired you all today. And thank you very much for being patient with me during the start of June as I am recovering from my illness. For those of you that are booked in for workshops this weekend, I look forward to seeing you then. If not, feel free to follow me on YouTube and you can catch up with my scrapbooking challenges there on a week-to-week basis. Thanks all for watching, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week. I can't wait to see what you come up with for this week's challenge. Bye for now.